My name is Noah Weinstein.
And I'm, as always, Armand Hartoonian.
And this is
WeinHart!
So today is a very special video. We're going to be comparing two complete piles of dog shit right now of movies. Godzilla King of the Monsters and Spider-Man 3.
That's right. Noah, completely off topic, but would you like a beer?
What? A beer?
Yeah, a beer. You want one?
I love a beer. What are you talking about?
All right, fantastic. Here, let me just, you like Stella?
Oh, I love me some Stella. Go get Stella. Oh, this is awesome.
Nice one for me. There we go. That's how we do it. This is how we do it here at WeinHart, everybody.
Moral of the story, if you want to talk about a bad movie, get a beer.
That's right. Because, I mean, it's so bad we have to drink a beer just to get through this shit.
Beers and bad movies.
To beers and bad movies. Wow, it's really good. Oh.
Mine's fizzing right on the spot, but you know what? It's not by the microphone, so we're all good, right?
All right.
Beers and bad movies and bad luck.
Cheers to that. So, Spider-Man 3, I think, did a terrible job introducing too many villains. You had Sandman, which was played by Thomas Hayden Church. You had the new Green Goblin, which was taken on by James Franco. You had Venom, who was Topher Grace. It didn't work out too well for me because it was just all these villains jumbled up in one thing. And then it was that weird scene with Peter Parker going through that emo goth phase and dancing and snapping. And I'm like, what was that, man? Like, the first two were really good, and the third one went so south. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. Okay. Well, pretty much the same thing as you, man. I mean, if this is actually funny enough, not my least favorite Spider-Man movie. That, to me, belongs to The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is bad. It's like, it's just not redeemable. But Spider-Man 3 is just, it's one of those movies that should have been absolutely fun and fantastic and a great conclusion to this trilogy and everything. But, like you said, it gets too muddled in too many subplots.
Sure.
Now, the biggest thing that I heard about Spider-Man 3 is that Sam Raimi, unfortunately, was reportedly kind of forced to include Venom into this version of the movie. Okay. Originally, what he wanted was, he wanted this to be a straight-up Sandman versus Spider-Man movie. And you could tell, because all the sequences with Sandman are actually well thought out and have some interesting enough character beats to them. But every time Topher Grace, and I love Topher Grace, don't get me wrong, every time he shows up as Venom, it is so clearly not done with the right amount of perfection and passion that Sam Raimi usually puts in these movies.
Sure.
They overstuffed this movie so much to the point where it became poorly written, it became very dribbleless, it became boring. That's the worst. The absolute worst.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And then, so speaking of that, now moving along to our next movie, Godzilla King of Monsters, which just came out a couple months ago, May 31st, 2019, that's right. Yeah, this movie was also terrible in a good way. But what I thought that they did was that they were able to introduce all these monsters. So they introduced, they introduced Godzilla, of course. They introduced Rodan. They introduced King Ghidorah. They introduced Mothra. They were able to, these monster scenes, the fight scenes were sequenced in a way where it was just so, it was so cool. And it was done in a way where it engaged you, it kept you there. You didn't lose any interest at any moment, for me anyways. It had so many elements of action, there was definitely some comic relief in there. Bradley Whitford, I think, was one of the funniest guys in that movie. I think he had a lot of really funny lines in that. There was that one where they were like, they were looking for Godzilla, and they wanted to, track him down, and they said, we need to pursue him. And Bradley Whitford goes, pursue him? Why don't we just have him over for a beer? Beer.
I personally just thought it all depended on the actor's timing at that point.
Sure.
You could tell who had comedic timing in that and who didn't.
Right.
And Bradley Whitford obviously did have some comedic timing.
Definitely.
And he actually took some lines that could have been just total horseshit and kind of made it funny in a way. But I agree with you in the sense that Godzilla King of the Monsters is it's another one of these movies where there is just absolutely no coherent plot whatsoever to this thing. You try to focus and figure out what it is, but it goes so off the rails within the first 10-15 minutes of this film. The weirdest thing about when I saw this in theaters was everybody clapped at the end of the movie. I was like, what? What did we watch a different movie? Like everybody was like, "Oh, this is so good." I'm like, "What?" What angered me the most about that film is that like it actually has some excellent components to that thing. I mean, the cinematography, it is one of the best shot monster movies I have ever seen.
Beautiful.
The colors and the palette design and the CGI on the monsters and all the fight scenes with the monsters are like second to none. But my God, they really needed to clean up that script. It was just, what a mess.
It was. I was iffy about it. Well, I was skeptical walking in, but when I walked out, I was like, you know what? It was entertaining. For all you viewers out there who don't know, a big thing for me that I've told Noah, a huge thing for me actually, is character development, because I feel that we as humans in our lifespan, we grow and we become new people and we change and all these sorts of things. I feel that a great director or a great screenwriter should reflect those qualities in his movie in order to show the audience that you can relate to these people on a human level. We didn't get much of that in King of Monsters.
We did not. So now we get to the nitty-gritty of this video, is comparing Godzilla King of the Monsters versus Spider-Man 3. Now, the way I see both of these movies is Godzilla King of the Monsters was just a much more fun, much more energetic, much more bombastic summer blockbuster than Spider-Man 3 was.
I agree.
Because Spider-Man 3 was already carrying a torch of a two-film narrative that was already a lot of people have fallen in love with. And in that movie, it lost steam very quickly because it just started focusing on too many things. The narrative began to fall very flat for me. And then we get sequences like the Jive Dancing Peter, that thing again, and we get all this kind of stuff. But that's the thing about Spider-Man 3. It's disappointing, and to say the least. It's not even like a fun summer blockbuster movie because you're just like, this isn't fun to watch your favorite two-movie narrative get botched so badly in this last film. Meanwhile, Godzilla King of the Monsters didn't really have a past narrative to begin with. I guess you can put the 2014 Godzilla in there and maybe Kong Skull Island, but this movie for me just stood on its own just fine. And the action is great, it's fun, it's bombastic, sometimes the humor is actually pretty okay, it's funny sometimes, and even though I don't like this film either, I had more fun watching that film.
And also, to add on to what Noah said, the reason why we picked these two movies was because we thought that Spider-Man 3 introduced multiple villains, King of Monsters introduced multiple villains, and the reason why, for me also, King of Monsters is above Spider-Man 3 is because I feel that the director executed his script by introducing these three characters, the four monsters that were the entire movie was about. He used these monsters very sparingly, I would say. We saw a bit of each monster and what each monster did. You know, we were able to see Godzilla's home. But overall, I would rank King of Monsters above Spider-Man 3. I thought it was executed a lot better. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do an average film or an okay film, or if you're gonna do one of those films, you might as well, take the route that the King of Monsters took, and do it like that.
And to add to what he said, the route the King of Monsters took is by no means great. It is by no means best way to do it.
That's right.
But at least it tapped into something that Spider-Man 3 just didn't quite do for me. Mm-hmm. It tapped into having fun. The audience had a lot of fun seeing all these monsters fight each other. And even though the humor was cringy and cheesy and all that kind of stuff, we laughed. We had a good time.
Right.
We looked back at it and shook our heads at all the really cringeworthy moments. But we had fun. We had a decent time. It's not Avengers Endgame. It's not Far From Home. It's not Toy Story 4. But you know what? It was a fun time. And that was all I was going in expecting, and I got it. So if it was better, great. If it wasn't, then you know what? No harm, no foul.
Buddy, you took the words right out of my mouth. Well, I think this concludes our another episode of WeinHart. Well, cheers.
To beers and bad
to
movies.
Beers and bad movies. To you guys for supporting us. Please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. You gotta hit that subscribe button.
And feel free to leave some comments.
All right, until next time, I'm Armand Hartoonian.
And I'm Noah Weinstein.
And this is
WeinHart!